Lights they flicker and the candles glitter like you're in a thriller. Heart goes pound, pound, pound. Ghostly figures, they can get so bitter. Show you want to enter, you can turn back down. You don't know where I've been. What's going on inside? Where the monsters like to come alive, come alive. Do you really wanna know me? I'm really not that cozy. It's up to you, so you decide, you decide. Would you love me up my words till the coffin's in the dirt? Try to break me like a curse, you know that will never work. I'm a little bit absurd, I like dancing on the verge. Anyone can love a pretty little mansion, but could you love a haunted, haunted house?
There we go. Welcome, welcome, welcome.
I like your intro there. That was great.
Yeah, I actually made it after I heard the song, so I was like, and it was free on the YouTube Music at one point. Now they kind of get me every once in a while. Oh, you can't run that music.
Oh, those copyright strikes, we get them too.
Yeah. Oh, well, we got Dana B in here, Autumn Leaf, got What Life. May take a while before we get some people in here because YouTube doesn't like to send out notifications too much.
I feel you. I get complaints all the time on my channel that YouTube failed to notify everybody.
Yeah, and they say, well, it's because we can only send out so many notifications.
Oh yeah, that's what they say.
Yeah, I know for a fact they still have issues with their coding for the notifications. They're working on it though, from what I hear. But we'll welcome you to the channel and everything. And I got crazy cats running around. Go ahead and tell us about your channel and what you do on your channel.
Okay. Well, I just want everybody to know I don't have a spider on my wall. I promise. Okay. It's not on my forehead. Hold on. Let's see. I love that. I think that's so cute.
It's my overlay.
Oh, yeah, no, put it back up, please. This is amazing. I just know there's going to be people watching like,
move the spider over a little bit.
Get that thing. Wait, which direction is it? There it is. Boom. Oh my gosh. Well, I'm Jessica Jones, aka the Cryptid Huntress, and I do have a YouTube channel here on YouTube. It's called the Cryptid Huntress, and I didn't just get that name for nothing. Okay, I'm actually a Cryptid Huntress. I'm a Bigfoot field researcher, and I've been doing that since 2011. Okay, so I've been doing it for a while, and I am located in Georgia. I live in Northwest Georgia, actually, and we do a lot of Bigfooting here in Georgia. We have a lot of Bigfoots in the Appalachian Mountains, and so I'm a part of 3 different research teams, boots on the ground research teams, and yeah, we cover the entire southeastern United States for the most part. We don't just do Bigfooting because we got out there doing Bigfoot field research. But we experience so much other stuff out there from UFOs, okay, and like possible aliens and ghosts, okay, portals. I mean, we can get into that at some point tonight. But yeah, we've experienced a lot of weird stuff out there. So we're more like a paranormal field research team at this point, but the focus is Sasquatch.
Okay.
So yeah. That's how I have my channel, but I'm also I'm a host at Spaced Out Radio. So I do shows every weekend. I'm a weekend host on Spaced Out Radio. We have a YouTube channel too. And I do shows every Saturday and Sunday night there live. And it's about cryptids. So Bigfoot and whatever else. Today I talked about hyena men on my channel.
Yeah, that was.
Yeah.
I wanted to watch that one too because I just got too much work to do.
Oh yeah. Well, you can always go back and watch it later.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That's usually what I do. I'll pop them on TV and start watching.
Oh yeah. Well, thank you. They're fun. I just love what I do, and I just have a lot of fun doing this stuff.
Yeah.
And so why not? We got into the hyenas, and it's not just cryptids. I talk about other stuff too. I take a very practical approach to a lot of these topics. The gentleman I had on my show today on my channel, he's a wildlife biologist, and he gave us the whole history of hyenas being in the Appalachian Mountains and all over the United States, at least dating back to at least the late 1800s, 1900s, more the 19th century, of course. But
yeah, I've had wildlife up here, and I could have swore I heard a hyena. It could have been him too, because he's from Georgia too.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. He comes up every once in a while on my lives, and I can swear I heard a hyena in the background there.
I'll be. I'll be. That's fun. Yeah.
Now, I noticed you had remote viewing investigations. What is that?
Okay, so I am trained in what is called remote viewing, and that was, I had no idea what remote viewing was until I got taught it. And so the head of my team is actually a remote viewer, one of my Bigfoot teams, and it's something that our military uses. Okay, militaries across the world use this for psychic spying. Okay, so it's basically psychic spying. They started using that. They claim to have started using that back around the Cold War. I guess Russia was using it to spy on the United States. So the United States decided they were going to start spying on Russia and everybody across the globe. Okay, so it's just a way to locate targets using your psychic abilities. And anybody can do it. Everybody is psychic to some degree. We're born that way. Okay, but not everybody taps into it and even realizes the power that they have. It's like a superhuman superpower. Okay, and so that's kind of what I do with remote viewing. I'm given blind targets where somebody, and I've been training in this for a long time. Okay, so I do it a lot, but I'm given a set of numbers that they're assigned to a target, and that could be anything. It could be like a statue, like the Statue of Liberty, right? And that's my target, so I have to look in and I write all this stuff down. I got my pen and my paper, and I sit down at a table, and I write those 8 numbers down, and I start writing into graphs, and any kind of information that floods into my mind. If I smell something or hear something, taste, touch, whatever, I write it down on that paper. And by the end of when that information quits flowing, by the end of that session, I can tell you what that target was.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, it's really cool. Really, really cool. But it takes a long time to kind of get good at it and stuff.
Well, they say when you're real young, you're really open to that stuff. And then as you get older, your brain just gets too cluttered with other things to open up.
It does. You got to get all the noise out of your head. And there's a process to doing that. And it takes a lot of practice and just almost like meditation and meditating and things like that, just to try to get your mind right, because really it's all about mind control. And it's not about me controlling anybody else's mind. It's about me controlling my mind.
Yeah.
And it's really important. It's situational awareness kind of stuff. I think that's super important today, especially in the environment and our society. It's important to have that situational awareness and be aware of energy shifts and people's intentions, to know what kind of intention somebody has towards you, but to know to be alert or not, and to go with your gut.
I tell people that all the time about, when you're out, stop looking at these things and pay attention to what's going on in the world.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
There's too many times you'll see somebody getting attacked when they're looking at their phone or not paying attention. Absolutely.
And just to feel eyes on you and things like that, if somebody's watching you, it's just an awareness. And it really hypes, it gets, it heightens your senses when you start paying attention to stuff. and noticing the energy shifts around you and people's moods and how people are treating you. And you start kind of reading people's minds at some point. Okay. And everybody can do it. It's just a matter of practicing and learning how to do it, kind of.
Yeah, my grandma was a gypsy, and she did all the fortune telling stuff and all that weird stuff. But growing up, like my dad would pass on his superstitions, like your ears ringing, somebody's talking about you, or your hand itches, and all kinds of little things that came from her, basically, and what her upbringing believed in and whatnot. Like if a bird flew in your house, somebody in the family was going to die, and things like that. He would get up and take everybody out of the house, and we would move right then and there, leave stuff behind and everything, because he was it was real superstitious about that stuff. Because it was,
hey, I think he's just smart. Probably just smart. He knew when to
I
get out
don't
of
know
Dodge.
if it ever happened or anything. All I know is make sure you have screens on the windows and the doors so the birds didn't fly in.
Oh man. Yeah. I was actually doing a live show one day, and I had 3 birds that were trying to get into my window.
Oh wow.
And they were right at my window, and I was actually talking about a case where these 3 little girls had been murdered. Yeah.
Oh wow.
And I had 3 birds at my window. It was odd, very odd.
That would be freaky though.
It was.
Really
it was
would.
live on air too.
Oh wow.
Oh yeah, stuff like that happened.
Now, have you had any Bigfoot experience happen to you?
Oh man, have I? Yes.
Well,
yes, I have actually.
There are some people that will look and never find anything, or they'll never experience it.
That's right. And I'm always surprised at the number of us researchers who are out there doing the field research that haven't had an up close and personal encounter where we actually saw one face to face. Like I haven't. I have not seen one face to face up close. Now I've seen them from a distance, and they've been in our camps plenty of times, and they've screamed at us, and they've come into our camp and screamed at us. There's a lot of other ways to experience a Bigfoot than just having like a face to face with one. Mm-hmm. So that's what I like to tell people, because I've never had one get right up where I could see the lines in its face and things like that.
Yeah.
They do like to hide. Okay. They do like to hide. And I feel like it's usually just a chance encounter that a lot of people have where they do get to see them like that. Mm-hmm. It doesn't matter how many years you've been out in the field. It doesn't mean you're guaranteed a sighting. But we've had plenty of experiences out there. Some of my experiences even include what could potentially be cloaked Bigfoot. Okay. And I know like it's hard enough for people to wrap their head around there being a Bigfoot. Mm-hmm. But then you go out with some of my team and things, and some of the people that I go out in the field with, we've had experiences where it's almost supernatural. There's some supernatural stuff going on out there in regards to Bigfoot. So yeah, I'm super far out there with all this stuff. So I know I'm not crazy. I mean, we're all a little crazy though, right?
Yeah, I've had many experiences in being in the woods, because I used to go ginseng hunting. We'd go deep into the woods and then get stuck because it would turn to nighttime, and then we'd have to walk our way out. And we came across some glowing lights and some weird things out there. And it doesn't have to, ghost and supernatural stuff doesn't have to happen in a house or a building or anything.
Oh yeah. Sometimes I'd prefer to be in a haunted house, because at least you have walls,
Yeah.
something to protect you. And so when we're out in the field, we have a lot of really odd things happen. A lot of hunters experience this stuff, and people that are out camping with their families, like lights in the woods, and we call them orbs, and sometimes they'll follow you around, and they'll just be lights in the woods. And sometimes they can be explained, like something from the soil or something that was natural. But then sometimes there may not be an explanation for it, so it's pretty interesting. It's a lot. I just have a lot of fun going out in the woods, and hanging out, and even taking my kid out there. I've got a son, and my team. I'm on 3 different teams that we go out there pretty often in different areas and do our research. So yeah, a lot of interesting things.
That would be cool. Got something here. They're like in the waterways here, tree knocking and rock throwing. Yeah,
yes, we get that a lot.
I thought I had a really experienced something like that one time until I found out it was a dang squirrel throwing acorns at me.
A squirrel can sound like an elephant sometimes in the woods. If you don't know what you're listening for, sometimes
they can do some grunting.
Yeah, but little tiny animals can sound like humans sometimes, or a big animal when they're creeping around the woods and making noise. So it can be a little scary. And I have definitely had rocks thrown at me before. I had a rock that was thrown across the creek into our camp one night, and I was sitting in my camping chair around the fire, and a rock landed at my feet, a big old rock. Yeah. So I feel like as many times as we've had rocks thrown at us, none of them have ever hit us. So I feel like if they wanted to actually hit us, they would have hurt us already.
Yeah. Trying more or less like a warning type of thing.
Yes. A warning, or just to let us know they're there. That's the way I like to look at it. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, it could be.
Yeah.
Now, have you've done it, got into, because right now it's a popular time for aliens all of a sudden with them telling us that there are aliens. Were you shocked that they released it and said, oh, there's aliens?
We've been expecting this. I think a lot of us were expecting there to be a little bit of disclosure. I'm not shocked, but as people like myself, once the government comes out and says that something's real, you have to wonder, like, why are they doing that now?
Yeah.
But I'm not shocked at it at all. It's time for us to get some answers on some of these weird things that are going on in our world.
Mm-hmm. I had an experience when I was in Phoenix, not the Phoenix Lights, but it still went to the same spot. But we used to go out and go cruising and stuff. And CBs were a popular part of it. And this was in the 80s, by the way. And I seen it big. It was a big ship. It seemed like it was going slow, and I could actually follow along with it as I was going like too fast, about 60, 70 miles through the city. And I was following this thing, and there was multiple people following along too. And until it got to Camelback Mountain and disappeared. And of course, government said it was a satellite had fallen.
Whoa, interesting.
Yeah.
We have a lot of sightings of UFOs. I've had my own sightings of UFOs out in the field when we're doing Bigfoot research. So it made us wonder, well, is there some kind of a connection there, which is interesting. But yeah, and a lot of the people that are on my teams, a lot of the guys, the men, they're former military or current or former military guys, special forces, law enforcement, firefighters, and fire chiefs, and nurses. And we have a nice variety of people on my teams. And most of them, I think every single one of them actually has had some sort of an encounter with a UFO of some sort, or definitely Bigfoot too. But I don't know if it's just some people are more prone to having these experiences and seeing things, or they're just more open to it. Because not everybody, has an opportunity, or I guess a privilege at some point, to see some of these things. Not to say it's a
Yeah.
privilege, because it's also very scary. It can be very traumatic
Oh yeah.
to have an experience like seeing a Bigfoot or a dog man or any kind of cryptid or an alien, whatever.
Yeah. It could. I mean, I've had people up here talking about their experiences, and you can almost see it in their faces and stuff, that when they talk about it, they almost like you can see the goosebumps on them when they're talking about it.
Oh yeah. Yeah, you know, we get reports from people all over the South, I guess, and here in Georgia, we've gotten reports from people. I got some myself from a park ranger, actually, up in northeast Georgia, or out towards like East Georgia, near where the Guidestones are, by the way, the Georgia Guidestones, where those things blew up last year.
Oh yeah.
Over in that area. There's a state park over there, and one of the rangers contacted me through a friend, one of my friends, a mutual friend that we had, and told me that he had like 8 or 9 Bigfoot sightings at his park within a month, and was asking me to come out and bring my team to come investigate. And you know, we ended up sending a scouting team out. Like, we don't like sending the whole team out unless we know for sure there's really activity going on out there. So yeah, me and I guess three of my guys went out there for a weekend, and it was quite an experience, but we didn't have a ton of activity when it came to Bigfoot out there. But yeah, we get lots of reports.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of stuff about that area with where the stones were.
That's right. Yeah, I have a friend that sent me a map today of ley lines. If you're familiar with ley lines, and there's actually an intersection of 2 major ley lines right on top of that piece of property where those Guidestones were.
Have you heard anything about that down there? Still, is it just a mystery of what happened and whatnot?
It went quiet, actually. Yeah. I haven't really heard anything lately, so I just know it kind of went quiet. Nobody said a whole lot. I mean, I had a friend that was just out there, I think it was yesterday or day before, just to go visit and feel the energy out there, you know. And I have one of my teammates actually lives out there. She works at one of the hospitals in the area, and so we she was there. I have two of my teammates live out there. So yeah, but it's been pretty quiet.
Huh. Yeah, I remember when that right before and after it was like all over the news and all kinds of stuff. Now you don't hear it much about it.
No, I was there right before we were there. I guess we did our little investigation up there about a month or two, like maybe 2 or 3 months actually, right before it happened. So it might have been a month or two. Yeah. Right before it blew up. So I got my picture made in front of it.
Now,
but it was ominous though.
Have you went out and done any investigations and actually scared you to where you got frightened of whatever you experienced or whatnot?
Yes. Well, one time it wasn't like I went out. Something came up into our base camp and scared us a little bit. But so here's the thing. I've been doing this for a long time, and everybody on my team, we're kind of inoculated to the high strangeness. Okay. So that's like, we've been put in some really weird predicaments and weird situations with a lot of activity, let's just say, with things yelling at us and chasing us out of places and all that kind of stuff. So we've seen it all for the most part. And so there was one night we were up at one of our base camps, and it seemed pretty quiet. You know, we were just kind of hanging out. We had our tents all set up. This is one of the smaller base camps that we use. And something just started screaming, and it went screaming through the behind our tents. And it was the loudest, it was a pretty terrifying scream. It sounded like a woman that was in pain and crying and screaming and mad, but not a human. It was like a woman animal sound. It was so weird. Yeah. It screamed like the whole way behind all of our tents. Of course, it was right behind my tent. of all of them. And when it quit screaming, we were just kind of like, whoa, what was that? The strangest thing was that we turned in for the night about an hour after that happened, which was very odd, right? Because we don't usually go to sleep. You shouldn't be going to sleep when you have that much activity, especially not in your base camp. And we all of a sudden we all just got tired. We're like, hey, let's all turn in for the night. So after we'd had this thing scream at us, and so we all turned in for the night, but nobody fell asleep that night because I never heard anybody snoring. And that's the telltale sign that everybody's going to sleep, is when everybody starts snoring. And that's usually when the Bigfoots will surround our base camp and start whooping and whistling at each other and triangulating around our base camp. But I guess they're either going to come in and kind of check us out or whatever. But so I like to try to stay awake so I can listen for the Bigfoots to come in later that night. But that night, nobody went to sleep. And our tent started getting pelted with rocks and acorns all night.
Oh boy.
So whatever that was hitting our tents with acorns and rocks all night. I didn't sleep a wink until the sun came up.
Yeah. I probably wouldn't either.
Yeah.
I'd have my flashlight ready.
I had more than a flashlight ready. Just gonna put it. I think we all
Especially if
did.
they're throwing stuff at you.
Yeah, it made for a scary night for us. For everybody there, it was very unusual. But other than that, I can't think of any time that I've been super scared. Yeah, I feel very safe. Oh, there's Eric. Hey, Eric. I feel very safe with my team. We all really look out for each other. So we know we're all safe in each other's company.
Yeah, I seen it was probably a comical act or something, but there was people out there were investigating for a Bigfoot, and one of them heard a noise, and then they all run out at the same time, left one person out there by themselves. I'm like,
oh, that's not safe.
Oh man, that'd be a horrible situation. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, no, well, we have some rules when we go out in the woods. Like part of our team, we never go anywhere alone. We always partner up no matter what. And you mentioned CB radios earlier, and we actually all carry Baofeng ham radios. Everybody's certified in ham. Okay, everybody's licensed and everything, and and so we're out there. We always have somebody stays back at base camp no matter what. And we radio in all evening, all day, wherever we go. If we go somewhere during the day, we always take somebody with us. And we're always teamed up with people because we just don't know what we're going to encounter. I mean, it's not only Bigfoot we're worried about. There are people living in the woods. We recently, over the past few years, had a serial killer camped out in the woods where we go and do some of our camping and stuff. Oh yeah. It's not just Bigfoot. A lot of people you got to watch out for.
Yeah, I think it was What Life was asking you about Indian mounds.
Oh yeah, we got plenty of those.
Yeah. Have you done anything with them?
Yeah. Well, I was just at one actually.
Okay.
Yeah, we have the Etowah Indian Mound, not too far from where I live. And I met some friends up there. I guess it was about a month ago. My son and I went up and met some friends at the Etowah Indian Mounds, which are huge, by the way. Gigantic Indian Mounds. That's up in, I think it's Cartersville, Georgia. And okay, so I got to tell you, there's a lot of cryptid sightings around Indian Mounds. Okay, and it's not just Bigfoot. We have something that we call Dogman that roams around the woods and the Appalachians and all of North Georgia and in the county where I live. We've had for 20 years, there's been reports of werewolf. They look like werewolves. And there's been werewolf sightings and people reporting them to the sheriff's department. Okay. So, and I know I have some of my friends that are on my team have taken the reports for some of the organizations out there like BFRO and the North American Dogman Project. So yeah, but the dogmen are often seen at the Indian burial mound. So I'm not sure what the connection is, but we do know that there is some sort of strange connection there.
Yeah, well, I mean, you go back and hear some of the stories the Indians tell about shape shifting and things like that. I
Yeah.
It's probably tied together.
Shape shifting, skinwalkers.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that was what my show was talking about this afternoon. I had a live show. I was talking about the hyena men or the hyenas, and we were talking about the possibility of, a skinwalker is basically you become a skinwalker through like dark magic and stuff like that. And it's kind of a Native American thing for as far as I know, where you have to actually wear the skin of one of the animals, and through a bunch of horrible, heinous things that you do,
Yeah.
you kind of become a supernatural version of whatever that animal is. Okay. And so we were talking about were hyenas today, where not a werewolf, were hyenas. Okay. And possibly those things being skinwalkers, and hyena dogmen being a skinwalker. Yeah.
Oh, wow,
So I don't know. This is a weird world we live in.
yeah. You could say that again.
Well, it's just something else we got to look out for when we're out camping and out in
Yeah.
the woods, So
Well, we're at the point now that if anybody has any questions, you can put them in caps or at me or something like that, and try to get them answered as much as possible. Now you were talking about portals and things like that. Is that reference to like the Bigfoots going through a portal and going somewhere else, or
could be. Yeah. It's to some people it's controversial. Okay. But to other people,
Yeah.
it's very real. And so I can see both sides of it. Now, my team, we have actually recorded, videoed what we consider to be a portal opening up, and we sent 2 of our teammates into it, and their heat signatures disappeared off of the thermal imaging device, and they said the environment changed, and
But you could still see them.
no, they disappeared.
Oh, okay.
Into a big gigantic square, a big cube that showed up in the middle of the field where we were researching.
Oh, now, yeah, that'd be something a bit different there.
It was very strange, yes.
Yeah.
But they made it out, and they live to tell about it.
That even if somebody tells me that there's a purple elephant outside, I'll believe them until I see there isn't one. Somewhat. And we have a question here. How long have you been doing this type of research and stuff?
Well, I've been doing it my whole life for the most part, but I've been on actual teams since 2011. 2011. Yes.
Okay.
I've been doing Bigfoot field research since 2011. Yeah. So it's been a little while.
Okay. Now, where do you think these portals, do you think they're like another dimension, or do you think you're getting teleported to a ship or something, or
I mean, that's a good question. Because it could be a whole bunch of different stuff. If there are portals, which I do believe there are, I think there are different types of portals, and I think there's some that are natural portals that the cryptids potentially have. Some of them, let's say Sasquatch, Bigfoot, for instance, if they've been on this earth since the beginning of time, if they're ancient beings, like some people believe, then they probably know a little bit about Earth's natural portals and where to go.
Yeah.
To go hop in to a portal and, come out wherever they go. I mean, we don't know. The more that we get out there and research and we're in the woods, the less we really know. So yeah, it's just, it's kind of baffling because you really don't know, but we're out there trying to figure it out. Some people say that they go in a portal and they go to Pluto. I mean, I don't know. I've heard all sorts of different things.
It'd be awful cold at Pluto.
I know, right? So we don't really know.
Yeah, we got another question from Grace. She's, how many is on your team?
We have, well, I'm on 3 different teams, and I'm going to say on each team there's anywhere from about 10 people, maybe, to at the most 15, but it's about 10 to 15 on each team, something
Okay.
like that. Yeah, but we're also kind of all intermingled, and so we're all kind of on each other's teams and stuff. So you can kind of take those 10 or 15, put on each,
Oh,
I'm
okay.
going to say combined, there's probably about 20 of us.
So
Something
if
like
you're
that.
going out one night and you don't have enough on one team, you'll call somebody from another team to come in and sub, like.
Yeah, well, absolutely. Well, we try to we try to schedule our trips out to the field and stuff far in advance. We try to, if we're going to have
Okay.
like a real research weekend, so that everybody can come and join us, because we all have lives. This is not, we do it for fun, and it costs a lot of money to go out there and research a lot of times. You got to take some days off from work, and you got to find a
Yeah.
babysitter, and equipment ain't cheap. Okay. And all that kind of stuff. So, yeah, it's, we try to plan in advance, but sometimes the best trips are last minute trips, where you just dial up one of your buddies and they're like, hey, meet me out at the meadow, and we just meet out there.
Okay, we got another question. Have you ever checked out the haunted Civil War houses in Coshocton?
Cohutta. I have not. However,
Oh,
I have been to some of the other Civil War battlefields, and Civil War, because me and Eric's in your chat from Paranormal Highway. He came on my show last week, and we talked about Civil War battlefield cryptids and haunted battlefields. And he has a great story, by the way. Okay. And about seeing, it's almost like a time warp or something that he entered, where he thought he was in a Civil War reenactment, but it might have been real. It was odd. It was very, very cool story. But okay, so I live in Northwest Georgia, and I'm not too far from the Kennesaw battlefield and Pickett's Mill battlefield. Okay, and 2 major battles happened there during the Civil War, and also the Chickamauga battlefield, which is in up near, not too far from Chattanooga, Tennessee. And so there's a lot of cryptid activity. We get a lot of reports of Bigfoot and Dogman up in those areas. Gugway, which is like another type of a Bigfoot, a little more violent. But yeah, a lot of cryptids are seen up there, and we even have a story called Old Green Eyes. Okay, and that's a cryptid seen at the Chickamauga battlefield. They said that during the actual battle, like after, I think it was during the battle, and then after the battle was over at Chickamauga, I think they said 34,000 men died over. And this entity, which some say it was a Bigfoot, was seen walking out on the battlefield and taking the corpses of the dead soldiers and eating them.
oh wow.
Mm-hmm. That's a story that goes way back. You're not going to find that in a history book.
Okay. Yeah, that's a that'd be a sight to see. I'm sure. And our Wildman has a question. You ever smelled the wet dog smell while you're out?
Yes, wet dog, urine, all that stuff. Yes, we have.
Yeah.
I have. Yeah,
Yeah.
lots of strange odors out there in the woods, especially when a Bigfoot's around. For sure.
I've heard the wet dog smell before, and I've experienced. I don't know if it could have been just a bunch of wet dogs, but I found this weird little wigwam looking thing of branches, and there's a musky dog smell in there. And me and my friend, this was way back when, didn't think nothing of it. And he was going to go in there, and once he went in there, it smelled so bad, he ran back out real quick. We never did. I never thought nothing of it until somebody was telling me that could have been a Bigfoot house or whatever.
It totally could have been. And I get speaking of those, like the teepees that you see out in the woods, those are absolutely 100% could be made by Sasquatch. We do come across tree structures in the woods a lot of times, and whether that be like an X structure where like two trees are crossed like an X, or if branches are like pulled down and curved over and tied together like a braid. Okay, we see that sometimes out there, and but a lot of times when we come up to something that's like, it kind of does look like a teepee structure, but it's long. A lot of those are debris huts. And I know, like doing bushcraft and everything, you know, my team, we're trained in just about everything. And there are times where some of the team will go out for like a week on end, a week or more, just to survive off the land, just to know we can do it. Okay. And to go and build with nothing but some tools in your pockets. Right. You know, and, so we know that people go out and build debris huts and stuff like that too. But it's all about kind of using your discernment to figure out like what's Bigfoot and what's human, you know. So just go with your gut on stuff like that.
Yeah. I think we had another question up here, but let me see if I can find it. And I don't know if you've been to Oregon.
Not yet. Not yet. I would stay in the South mostly. Yeah. I do a lot of research in the South. But I have not. They have a lot of Bigfoot activity up there in Oregon in the North Pacific. Yeah. So, and those are like a different type of Bigfoot up there too. I mean, I'm used to having like what people call skunk apes and like these North Georgia Bigfoots. You know, they're not as big. They say they're not as big as the ones that are up there up north. So just a little different. I mean, they're regional, kind of like us humans. Like we're
well, you wouldn't want to, if you live down south where it's hot and humid, you wouldn't want a bunch of fur on you.
That's true. That's true. It's a little stringy. They got stringy long hair down here.
Bulky and whatnot.
Not those pelts like they have up there. Yeah, just like all the wildlife, I guess.
Grace got you another question.
Yeah, we do. Okay, so our samples of dirt and things professionally analyzed. They can be. Listen, I have a wildlife biologist on my team, and I don't know if we've ever taken dirt and analyzed it, but as far as like Bigfoot hairs go, we have absolutely. A lot of times we'll find not a lot. We don't find a lot, but sometimes if there's like a hair sample, we can put it underneath the microscope and look for like the oil globules and things like that on it. And just to kind of dissect like the hair. Okay. To try to decide if it's animal or Bigfoot. Yeah. But we have access to that kind of stuff. And we totally do that when it's needed.
Have you done any of where you get the plaster and make footprints and all that?
Oh yeah. My team has. I've never made a cast. Now I've seen plenty of prints, but I personally have not. I know how to make them, but I just haven't made one out in the field. But everybody on my team has. Yeah. Okay.
That'd be wicked.
Those are cool. It's actually really cool. And I wish I did have some casts. I need to start doing those. I just did an investigation up in Tennessee recently. A lady and her husband were having Sasquatch activity on their property. And they had like almost 500 acres of land up in North Tennessee. And I've been wanting to investigate Tennessee for so long for a number of reasons. But me and some fellas made it out there, and we had a great weekend. But there's her chickens were getting taken out of their pen, and her house was right beside a gigantic cave. The opening to the cave was 30 feet from her back door. And we were thinking the Bigfoots were coming in and out of that cave. So we went and spent the weekend out there looking for Bigfoots. Actually, we were told there could be skinwalkers in that cave too. So that was an interesting investigation.
Have you went into some of them caves? Because I know there's some down there that go like miles and miles that are long. I can't remember exactly where they're at or anything, but I do know that there are some down there that go miles and miles long. And you have to mark the walls and everything so you don't get lost and everything. because you always see the movie where they go in and then something happens and they lose their way and then they're in there forever.
Yeah, I did not want that happening at all.
Yeah.
I'm not a caver. Okay, so I don't go spelunking, and
Yeah.
we have a cave specialist on my team though, and a lot of the guys go caving, and I had not. This was my first time like deep in a cave before, actually.
Yeah. I've watched people go in and do it, and they'll be squeezing through these little tunnels like this, and they'll just be moving it like an inch every so often. No, I want to be somewhere where I got places to run if something pops out at me.
Well, and that was a credible fear that I had when I got in there, because we were all like in a single row line, like a bunch of us were walking in, and I think there were like 6 or 8 of us, I guess. And I was like in the middle, kind of walking, and we got in there, and I didn't see any sign of Bigfoot or anything. It was really odd because with all the activity she was having around her house, there were no prints in that cave at all. And could they have climbed around the side of the walls? Maybe, but we were all noticing that it was really narrow, and our feet were getting stuck. The mud was so deep that our shoes were like trying to come off our feet and stuff. So we were like, man, we got way back in there. We're like, okay, if something comes chasing us from the other end, we're screwed. Okay. Because not only are these like, we're all going to be struggling to like get out the other side of the cave, and we're going to be jumping on top of each other, and our feet are all stuck in the mud. So yeah, so I did my one good trek inside the cave, and I stayed kind of in the beginning parts of the cave for the rest of the weekend. We were down there, and I let the experienced cavers go deep within it, because it wasn't my cup of tea. I don't like being claustrophobic, and
neither do I.
Yeah. I was more focused on wanting to research the 500 acres outside the cave.
You guys go in there. I'll be outside.
I'll be outside. I wasn't by myself though, but yeah. We had a good time. That was a fun weekend up there. So that's what I like to do, is go investigate people's properties. And even try to help, in any kind of way, just so they can kind of know what's really out there. There was, like I said, there was one really good print, like footprint. We should have probably tried to cast that, but we were out there trying. We were too worried about skinwalkers coming at us that weekend.
Yeah. How many since you've been in these 3 groups, how many do you say you go out and investigate within a year's time?
I personally don't investigate as much as the guys do on the other guys on my team. I spend my weekends mostly doing live shows and stuff, talking about it. So I say in the past year, I say 3 or 4 within a year.
Okay.
Yeah, for me personally, but that's not everybody on my team. But I do 3 or 4. Yeah, something like that. I don't do a ton of them, but I do. But now researching is different, because we're out there doing a lot of research, and we spend weekends researching. So there's investigations going on people's properties.
Oh yeah.
But then we have research weekends and research weeks, and that's like once a month or more.
Yeah.
So yeah, I stay busy. I stay super busy doing this. I'm a podcaster and do my shows. That's a side thing. That's just for fun. I'm a boots on the ground researcher first.
And it's unless you're really rich, it takes money to go out there and do that. And nowadays the price of everything is so high.
Gas. Yeah. Oh yeah. Gas is expensive for sure. And yeah, like I said, it's hard to get everybody there and all that kind of stuff, but that's why we plan ahead. We totally plan ahead. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know how he would go into a cave. He's like the human version of a Bigfoot, because he's like 6'7" or something like that.
Oh my gosh. Well, it's not for everybody. I'm not a big fan of going in caves either, but I got to tell you, it was way cooler down there. It was about 10 or more degrees cooler than it was outside. and it was on a hot summer weekend. Yeah. So it was actually really nice being down there. We all took our camping chairs and went down into the cave and sat right there at the mouth of the cave for a good bit of that weekend. It was like being in a refrigerator.
What are like for on your lives that you have? What is one of the biggest guests that you've had on your show?
One of the biggest guests, like as far as Bigfoot goes.
Well, not tall wise, but most popular, most famous.
I know, that's what I meant. That's what I thought you meant. I was, yes. Well, I mean, I've had Ron Moorhead on my show. That's one of my favorite researchers from one of the first. You know, it goes way back to the Sierra Sounds, if you're familiar with that. He actually has recordings of Bigfoot language, and if your audience isn't familiar with that, look up Sierra Sounds. And Ron looks at Bigfoot the same way I look at Bigfoot, and that's having something else going on. It's not just a flesh and bone primate in the woods. Okay, I think it's more than that. I think they're more than just flesh and bone and blood. Okay, I think they are flesh and bone and blood, absolutely. But I think that they either have access to something like potentially like a Earth natural portal or something, or there's something quantum going on. He has a book called Quantum Bigfoot, and I highly recommend if anybody's interested in this topic, and I know not everybody is, but if anybody's interested in it, check out his book, Quantum Bigfoot. I do not know Mark Zasky. I don't know him. Not yet. Maybe I'll come across him. Oh my gosh. But yeah, I had Ron on the show, and I had met Ron and R. Scott Nelson, who so I'm going to tell you who each of them are, because I think this is important for if you're into Bigfoot research. Right after I started doing Bigfoot research, the head of one of my teams spoke at a Bigfoot conference in Georgia, North Georgia. And Ron Moorhead and R. Scott Nelson were some of the speakers there as well. And I was able to hear them talk, and I was not really familiar with the Sierra Sound. Well, Ron Moorhead and his friend were going up to this hunt camp up in the Sierra Mountains in North California, and were having interactions with something that they were Bigfoots. Okay, they were claiming they were Sasquatch. Well, they were talking at night. So he and his buddy threw some recording devices up in the tree line, up in the trees, and were recording their interactions with these beings. And it sounded really odd because it didn't sound human, and it didn't sound like English. It was like a combination of like archaic Japanese and Spanish and Native American dialects. And it was like sped up and slowed down. It was just this really odd language, and it's totally worth listening to if you guys ever get a chance to listen to it. And so let's fast forward to like 20 years later, after he made those recordings. R. Scott Nelson, he was a linguist with the Navy. I believe it was the U.S. Navy. Okay, he transcribed languages and stuff like that and codes for the Navy. And so his son was doing a special project at his school, and it was on animal language. And so his son said, well, how about I look into the language of Bigfoot or something? And he was like, Dad, do you think Bigfoots have a language? And he was like, well, I don't know, son. Let's look it up. And so they looked it up and found the Sierra Sounds. Well, he was listening to these tapes of Bigfoot speaking back and forth to each other, and said, whoa. It was fascinating. He said, this is an actual language. Okay, so before, Ron Moorhead had said, well, this is just, it's just a bunch of noises and it's the way they're talking to each other. Well, Scott Nelson was actually hearing phonemes and things, and like it was breaking it down. He actually sat there and made it like a project to decipher their language. Okay, so it shows a huge sign of intelligence for these beings, right? Is they have their own language, and it spans like very clearly different languages from across the world.
Yeah, why wouldn't they have their own? Because I mean, wolves talk to each other, bears, most creatures do. I mean, it's not far-fetched that another being would have another way of communicating with
That's
more of
right.
their kind. It's, to me, that
Yeah,
would be obvious.
absolutely. But it just lends the credibility to these beings being, first of all, being real, and having their own language that defies any other language that we know here on the planet, other than like a bunch of combinations of dialects and stuff kind of melded into some weird other language. you know
Mhm.
it's cool. It's really cool. I recommend everybody looking into it if you get a chance.
Okay, I've touched on this a few times, and it's popular all of a sudden now, is
Okay.
Mandela effect.
Oh yeah.
And not too long ago, somebody was kind of broke it down and said, CERN back in the day, um, when CERN happened, we split into two dimensions. Now, do you think
Yeah.
any of that has anything to do with could have anything to do with Bigfoot? Like appearing one minute and disappearing the next moment.
Well, I that's an interesting question. Okay, because I'm really really interested in the Mandela effect myself, and I gotta tell you, I was a little upset when I realized one day that Chick-fil-A had changed their name. Okay, that was like that's the one that's really gotten me, was that Mandela effect with Chick-fil-A, because I absolutely remember it being CHIK filet, and that we have Chick-fil-A's here in Georgia. Okay,
Yeah.
that's like the go-to fast food spot down here. Okay, and so so when one day I went to Chick-fil-A and I realized, well, they changed the name to CHICK filet, and I was totally baffled. Like, what happened? And I looked it up when I got home because I was like, this isn't right. See, because I actually have a degree in English literature, and I love watching when I see something that's real clever, I'm like, oh, that's clever. The way they spell stuff. And I thought, oh, that's really clever. CHIK. You can't forget that. You know, and uh, and then one day when it was CHICK, it was like so bland compared to what it used to be, in my opinion. I went home and
Yeah.
I researched it and I was like, oh my gosh, it's been CHICK the entire time. Can't be, can't be. But it was something that, the people working there were like, oh no, you ask people working there, like, no, it's always been CHICK. But then I put something out on social media and some people remembered it CHIC filet, CHIC. And so you could tell a lot of people remembered it CHIK filet. And so you could kind of tell, the way I look at it is that you can see who was on which timeline. Okay, so I feel like it's like different timelines.
Yeah.
So some of us were on one timeline, some are on another, and now we're all on the one with the CHICK. Okay. Anyways, I know that's a long, drawn out story there, but that really affected me with them
Yeah.
changing the name of that. I think that when they do turn on large hadron colliders, or hadron colliders, I think is how you pronounce that. When they turn on these colliders, I do believe that it does have something to do with like maybe switching us over to a different dimension or putting us in a different timeline. I think that it absolutely can do that.
Oh yeah.
I also
Well,
have been told that there are more than
Monopoly
just that
guy.
one hadron collider.
Yeah, the Monopoly guy. How does he not have a monocle on his eye? I've always
Exactly.
known him to be that dude that had the monocle. And you look at
Yeah.
Monopoly now, then even on the cards or anything, there's nothing.
Yeah. It's really odd. Also, I mean, the names of products that we buy have changed, and candy bars and cereals and books that
Yeah.
we've read and movie lines and things like that. It's really something else. And some people will argue with us till they're blue in the face that no, it's always been that way. But no, I don't have false memories. I probably do occasionally, but I don't think so.
Yeah. And since 2016, has there been more
Yeah.
sightings and things? I would say it's more because of social media. It's so easy now
Yeah.
to just say, "Hey, I just saw whatever," instead of you telling your neighbor, and then it dies from there.
Yes.
I think it's more easier to say you've seen something or whatnot.
Yes, it's almost like the veil has thinned as well, too. A lot is what they say, and there has been an uptick since I started doing Bigfoot research. You know, I waited 10 years to go public with my research because it was a little more frowned upon. I'm not going to say frowned upon, but it wasn't as accepting as it is today. Like back when I started doing Bigfooting, not everybody had a Bigfoot sticker on the back of their truck. You know, today you drive down the road and everybody's got Bigfoot stickers on their car.
Yeah, I've seen like 3 today.
I have 3 Bigfoots on my truck. Okay. But yeah, and also we didn't have TV shows like Finding Bigfoot and Expedition Bigfoot and all that stuff back then.
Yeah.
But also there's a lot of animals that are misidentified as Bigfoot too out there. So, you know,
or people.
You got to take that into account.
Yeah. I'm sure wildlife is in a power pole or something. Oh, it's Bigfoot.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, a lot of bears look like Bigfoot, you know. You know, I just did, I did a show recently on children who had been lost in the woods over, let's say, a span of like 100 years here in the United States. There are at least 3 or 4 cases I talked about where there were children that had been lost in the woods, national forest mostly, most of them. One was recent in North Carolina, where they were lost in the woods, and when they were found, they were actually found, they had not a scratch on them. And they actually told the people who found them and their families that they had been taken care of by a bear.
Oh, wow.
Makes you wonder, right?
Yeah. Yeah,
I don't think those were bears.
Freaky. I've never had issues with a bear going and chasing me down. I lived out in the boonies one time and while I was sitting next to a river, seen the bear about 12 feet away look at me and then look back into the river and walk across the river and look back at me and then just walked away. Just a stroll, like, and I didn't go freak out and run, which wouldn't done no good anyway. I just would have got eaten. Yeah, tired.
It's best not to confront them if it's not coming at you. Yeah, just let it pass. Let it pass. But be very aware that it's there, please. Yeah. Yeah.
And I've seen them before, but I've never, they've never done that. Like you see in the movies, they go, Rrr. I think that majority of that is movies.
I think so too. I know we've come across some bears. Actually, as a matter of fact, the last time I was out in the field a couple weeks ago, I guess it wasn't that long ago. I took my son for a day trip actually out there, and he found his first set of bear tracks. And I was so proud of him.
Oh,
but it looked like
that's good.
It was great. We were looking for Bigfoot though. He was wanting to find a Bigfoot track, but we found bear.
Yeah, I've seen hunters. Well, they claim they're hunters and making videos and stuff, and they'll point down at something and see something that's not even close to what they're talking about, and I'm like, that's not that. And I mean, I've hunted and I know some tracks, but I'm not like an expert. And well, this paw right here is from this breed of animal, and it's 182 pounds. Yeah, but yeah, some of it's hilarious.
Well, okay, so my team. Of course, when you're out there doing Bigfoot field research, we got to know tracks. Okay. So we're all trained extensively in human and animal tracking. And so, and that's what I love taking my son out there to teach him these things. I think it's so important that we teach our children, survival skills and bushcraft. My son loves bushcraft. He likes going out with my team just because all the guys on the team go out there and teach him bushcraft. And he loves chopping up wood, and, he's only 9. Well, but he loves learning these skills. Yeah. Because we've all been taught. Okay, so we're like this. I want to say like an A team, right? Everybody's got very special skill sets of some sort. Okay, and each of us is taught each of us is taught everybody on the team our skills. Okay, and it goes from tracking and survival. I mean, we've done a lot of survival courses and classes and all that kind of stuff, and real life situations out in the field, to dowsing, like finding water sources and using sticks and dowsing rods and stuff like that. It's important to know all of these things. Combat medical training. Okay, you know how important it is to be when you're out in the woods. You're miles from civilization. You're hundreds of miles sometimes. To be able to, you break a leg, you need to know how to like set it, or if you sprain an ankle or anything, you got to have these skills. Bigfoot field research is, goes hand in hand with bushcraft and survival skills, because we learn all of that when we're out there bigfooting.
Well, it wouldn't make sense if you had a team of builders to build a house, and everybody is a plumber.
That's right.
The house is not going to get built.
They have good plumbing.
If it does get built, it won't be up to code.
Yeah, that's right. That's true. You got to have a little, it's just so great to have a team where everybody can teach everybody what we know. And I mean, I know how to cover a sucking chest wound. Okay. How many people know how to do that? And I'm not trained medically. Okay. But I am for an emergency. If I had something happen, and we carry our medic bags out with us. Somebody's ready to go. Everybody's trained if something bad happens. And I got a spider on my forehead. Oh my God, that has been cracking me up. I love it.
Well, we're at that point where it's about the end of the show here. So, do you got anything coming up that you've been working on and you can kind of let us in on?
Yeah, well, I don't have any huge projects right now going on, and no conferences coming up in the next couple of weeks or anything like that. But I do have shows. I have live shows every Wednesday at 1 p.m. Eastern, Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern, and then Saturday and Sunday I'm on Spaced Out Radio every Saturday and Sunday night at 10 p.m. Eastern there. And I mean, I have some trips and stuff planned, with my team, and got a little thing going on up in New York next month. And I do a lot of traveling right now. I've been speaking at a lot of conferences and just meeting the coolest people. Oh my gosh, I've been having the time of my life over Bigfoot. Okay. I guess it was a good thing coming out publicly as being a Bigfoot researcher. It's got its perks, getting to get out and go Bigfooting with really cool people and meeting a lot of great folks.
Yeah, I've never been really, like I said, into the whole Bigfoot thing. I haven't seen one. I've been told I've seen where they may be in land, but that's about as far as it's been. But then again, you could go out in the woods 100 times and never find mushrooms. And then that one time, oh, there's a mushroom I've been looking for.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean it's not there.
That's right. Just because you haven't seen it doesn't mean it's not there. That's for sure.
Yeah.
That's one of the main takeaways. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And there's a lot of chance encounters too. I mean, there's a lot of people that see them just driving down the road at night and things like that. So
yeah. I've heard a lot of stories about seeing something walk across on its hind legs, and well, it can't be a bear. A bear wouldn't run across the road like that.
Yeah, a lot of things that defy logic, and it makes you think twice. And like I said earlier, when we first started the show today, it can be very traumatic to people who have never experienced anything like that before. And so if any of y'all ever have an experience, y'all come find us, come find me on YouTube. And I feel like I used to do a bunch of shows with my friends at Texas Front Porch, and they are Bigfoot researchers as well, Dog Man, things like that. And we feel like it's almost like a support group. Okay. And a lot of the YouTube channels and people that are researchers that have YouTube channels, we're there to support each other because these things can be a little
Yeah.
traumatic.
And that kind of reminds me of whenever I seen that UFO in Phoenix. Yeah. When I got to the top of the hill and it disappeared, there was probably about 10, 15 other vehicles up there with me. And everybody got out and we started talking. And do you see this? You see that? Yeah, yeah. Because you can make out the details of this thing and everything. And 3 of the people that I ended up becoming friends with, we went up to Snowflake. It's where that fire in the sky thing in Arizona.
Travis Walton. Yeah.
And we went up there and got to go out there to where this was. And we went up on the hill and everything. And you could feel there was something there. I don't know if it was energy from whatever took him up or whatnot. And ever since then, we got together every once in a while and went to different locations. And at that time, it wasn't like investigator or anything. It was just, hey, let's go check this out. And we'd go and check it out. And it was fun back then.
You didn't have any missing time, did you?
This was in the 80s. Yeah.
Yeah.
We never really seen anything like the first thing we seen with the UFO flying over. But just the feeling of going to those other places. We were going to go to Area 51, but we chickened out.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I was just out in Nevada back in May, actually. We were out there and a bunch of our crew went up to Area 51 the day that I left because I had another conference to be at. So I missed that. So hopefully I'll get back there next year. I want to go too. But yeah, I'm also have a healthy dose of respect. I don't want to cross any lines or anything out there because I don't know. You don't want to get taken away in a van.
Yeah. Yeah, you don't want to be. You don't want to try getting over there by yourself.
That's right. That's right. Take somebody with you.
Everybody knows that you crossing the line at the same time. And,
yes. Yeah. Situational awareness.
and now with the whole government coming out with it and saying, "Hey, yeah, we have UFOs. Yeah, we got biological, DNA,
non-humans." They said non-humans, so they've admitted that they have the pilots of some of those craft.
Yeah,
dead or alive, I don't know. But
I'm kind of curious if Roswell will get more people this year.
Probably. I don't know. It's really odd how people are not really reacting to it like you'd think.
Yeah, it's
like no big deal. It's no big deal.
There's a lot of sleepy people out there, though.
Ooh, I know.
I'll put it that way.
Very much.
But I wanted to let everybody know to head over to her channel and check out her channel. She goes Wednesday at 1:00. Is it 1:00?
Yes, Wednesday at 1 and Thursday at 8 p.m. on my channel.
Thursday at 8:00. Okay.
Yes.
And
then Spaced Out Radio on Saturdays on the YouTube channel.
Okay.
Spaced Out Radio YouTube channel.
Okay, I'll make sure I add that after the live's over. I will be over at Jeff's tomorrow and then back here again with another interview on Friday, 7:00. And I want to thank everybody for hanging out with us tonight. Until next time, we'll catch you guys later.
Thank you.